In this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about your software options for text editors to work with HTML and CSS for CIT 125 web development. Depending on which operating system you are using, that will depend upon which software bundles you have available to you. So we're going to go through all three operating systems. We'll start out with Windows, then talk about Mac, and in case anybody out there is using Linux or a Raspberry Pi, I'll touch briefly on those as well. Then we'll finish up as far as just showing you our LibGuide here at Community College of Allegheny County and what text editors they have available and linked to on there. So to start out here, let's talk about your Windows options. By default, all Windows operating systems come installed with what is called Notepad. Pros to Notepad, very easy to use. Not a lot of buttons you have to master, not remembering where different drop downs are, things like that, very straight and to the point. It's a phenomenal choice that if you are very, very brand new to this sort of stuff and have never worked with any type of scripting, development, or anything like that, it's a great choice. Again, free to use, comes already pre-installed on your Windows OS. I'd have to say though, if you have some experience with coding and development, I'd say some of the cons is the fact that it's straight and to the point. You don't have a lot of autocomplete, no color coding of the code or anything like that, no code assistance, just straight text. So if you're looking for something a little bit more advanced, you might actually want, if you're a Windows user, you might actually want to look at Notepad++. This one, you have a little bit more control. You get tabbed browsing as far as your different files are concerned. You also get color-coded code, code assist, and a lot of other things such as autocomplete. Really, the only con I can think of to Notepad++ is the fact that it isn't available to Mac users. Some other options you have is Adobe Dreamweaver. It wouldn't be right if I didn't mention Adobe's code editor in a web development class. I've used Dreamweaver for years, but that's because I'm also using the rest of its Creative Cloud. Dreamweaver you do have to pay to get access to. This would be a $20 a month fee. Yes, you get access to the rest of the Creative Cloud as far as all Adobe software. However, Dreamweaver really is the web development toolkit program of Adobe. You can do a lot of server management, JavaScript, XML, all sorts of different web stuff. It can actually be a little overwhelming. I wanted to mention it, but I would really encourage folks, if you're brand new, stick to something like Notepad++, Atom, or even Sublime, or just the general install. Atom is the next one I wanted to point out. This is an open, free-to-use editor. One nice thing about it is it does integrate into GitHub. It's kind of GitHub's version of a code developer. You're going to see in this class that I use it quite frequently just because I am often using the GitHub as far as uploading all of my different files and stuff like that. Probably my biggest, I'd say, negative for that is if, again, you are brand new to HTML, CSS, any form of coding, I would say there is a lot as far as you can have a ton of different plugins, but that might be a little overwhelming if you are just starting out. Next up, and last but by no means least, is NetBeans. If you've ever taken a class at Community College of Allegheny County, a lot of us do favor the NetBeans as far as starting out with our Java development. NetBeans does have an HTML and CSS plugin, also as well it has a JavaScript plugin. It's a great free-to-use program. However, again, if you are just starting out and are brand new to this sort of thing, I'd tell you probably jump between either Notepad or Notepad++ or even Atom if you'd like to be able to follow along and mimic what I'm doing in the videos. Moving on to your Mac options, Mac has its own editor that comes pre-installed with its OS. It's called TextEdit. Yes, once again, very straight to the point type of little editor. The only drawback is you do have to set some preferences before you can begin developing HTML and CSS documents. On the next slide here, you'll see I did include some screenshots of how your preferences should be set for that. Outside of that, though, it's a very straightforward editor, great for beginners. Once again here, I've mentioned Dreamweaver and Atom. Again, personally, I do use Atom. Unfortunately, Notepad++ is not available. However, as you'll see on the Linux slide down the road here, there is something called Sublime Text. I've had a lot of students that also like Sublime who are Mac users as well. So here you can see, as far as the text preferences, some of the things that you would have to change. You'd want to go under the text editor dropdown and go into its preferences, and then notice some of the changes I made under format, your options, and also over in the open and save areas. These are uploaded as far as Blackboard and the GitHub is concerned, so you can download them and go through them as you like. Just in case there's anybody out there using Linux. First off, I do have a couple of students, or I have had a couple of students in the past who do use Raspberry Pis. They have a little text editor called Vim that you can download. I did provide your documentation here for you that you can work with that. You also, on the general Linux side, you have Sublime Text. Sublime Text also works as far as Windows and Mac. I've had a lot of Mac students who have used the Sublime Text and have been very happy with it. Lastly, here we have your library guide as far as your computer information technologies here at CCAC. The librarians have gone through and made a code editors tab that enables you to go in and you can kind of go down the line and look at all of the different options. One thing I might suggest if you are brand new to this sort of stuff is maybe start out with the basic notepad or text editor that's installed on your OS. Maybe as you go through, you start to find yourself, hey, you know what, I'd really like to have some code assist, or you know what, I think the color coding of the code will make life a heck of a lot easier, or even, you know, I want a dark background with, you know, white text. Once you choose a code editor, it's not in this class, you're not locked into it. You can change down the line as you get more comfortable with the languages and kind of setting up your web folders and navigations.